The game-buying evil was ready for its fourth adventure. Welcome. The Last Stand. Once upon a time, long, long ago in... hell, well, you know the rest. The absolute evil had, in the fabulous predecessor to this game, taken over the entire overworld with its creatures. Now it spent its time on debauched parties and... Wait a minute. The entire overworld? No! One small village of indomitable heroes still held out against the invaders. The unamused evil was beside itself with rage. But all this was about to change once and for all, because the remote controlling evil sent its most vicious general into the field, the dark elf Talia. Talia, also known from the fabulous predecessor, came back from her vacation in a thoroughly good mood. Before that, she had defeated her foster father, the paladin Tanos. This fact is important to note. For this last remaining village of heroes was protected by none other than Tristan, foster son of Tanos. The last defenders of good were fighting for their survival. This seemed to be the perfect time for Tristan to make his appearance, the last mighty hero of the good races.
My brothers! In your eyes I see the same fear that would lead me to despair.
A few pitiful opponents. I'm gonna massacre you. If I can just remember how that works again.
Fortunately, Talia's instincts took over at this point, something which wannabe pro gamers often refer to as auto-attack. Talia also remembered that she had a few skills that she could invoke whenever she felt like it.
Oh, right! Boom! That's how it's done.
Talia's mighty storm once again stood at her disposal.
Hey, did someone actually cage my subordinates? Ah, forget that. I'm the only one who's allowed to do that. Time to bust these things open. Pulverize them. Nuke them.
A cage was destroyed and creatures were freed. Talia had freed all the creatures. Not to be outdone by her stepbrother, she too gave a brilliant speech.
Speech? Sure. Creatures! Time to punch the do-gooders right in the kisser! Forward! Punch them in the face, kick them in the shins, break their belt buckles so they trip on their pants.
Yes. Very inspiring.
Yippee-ki-yay, hero mucker!
Talia had reached the center of battle. With another brilliant speech, she goaded her creatures on one more time.
Another speech? Oh. Ding dong, the hero's dead. That okay?
Honestly, I don't know if I can work with you like this. After Talia's words, the creatures surged forward and flocked to their linguistically under-talented leader. Or would like to, but the defenses on the left and right flanks made progress impossible. Talia had to destroy them in order to receive further support. The hero's left defensive flank could no longer withstand the breaching evil's creatures. The hero's defense collapsed on the right flank. The monstrous evil's creatures flocked to Talia.
Excellent. I can always use more cannon fodder. I mean, loyal subordinates.
Once again, Talia's fury descended to plunge the land into blackness.
Hasta la vista, hero boy.
Talia, stepsister! You dare to show your face here after killing our foster father!
Yeah. Is that a trick question? You can see I'm here. Thanos deserved what he got. And I thought to myself, hey, like father, like son.
You will pay for your deeds, sister. The light will protect me. Sister, turn from evil and come back to the side of good. See the power of light.
With these words, Tristan was bathed in a golden light that seemed to protect him. As if that were not troublesome enough, a number of magical portals opened at the same time.
Huh. As if this wasn't dragging on way too long already. Can't we just jump straight to the point where I greedily take over the world? Forward, creatures! Smash the portals! Flatten that magic junk! Pull the plug!
My brothers! In your eyes I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the courage of true heroes is extinguished. When we abandon our companions and all bonds of friendship are broken. But that day is still far off. Stand fast! Heroes of the West!
Oh, didn't you spout that same bullshit earlier? In exactly the same words.
No, not at all. I am known for my brilliant speeches, wicked stepsister.
I seem to remember that whenever you were supposed to speak in front of the class, we had to get a mop.
You'll pay for that. Onward, faithful! Destroy the evil!
All the magical portals had been destroyed, and with them, Tristan's shield went up in smoke.
That's the way I like it. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah. I was just about to kick my stepbrother's butt.
Sister, it doesn't have to end this way. Join me. Together we can still save the world.
Oh, can't you just die and spare us all the embarrassing melodrama?
Talia once again summoned her fury.
Talia! This isn't the end! We'll meet again!
With these words, Tristan quickly created a portal and threw himself through it with the last of his strength. The portal closed again behind him.
Treachery! Fraud! Cheater! This was supposed to be my victory! And what the hell kind of glove is that anyway? Looks to me like game design forgot to balance the thing properly.
Maybe the people in charge were still too captivated by your great speech. It brought tears to my eyes too, however, not of emotion.
As if the bird brains these evil creatures have needed grand speeches. A few skulls to bash in, and the social calendar for the evening is filled.
Well, each to their own. But apparently, Tristan had suffered a mishap, as the aforementioned magic glove still lay in the place where it was last used. It would seem that he had accidentally lost it.
Wonderful. This thing is just what I need. Très chic. I'll, just grab that right away.
And so our story begins. Tristan had managed to give Talia the slip, but she had been able to capture his magic glove. The Gauntlet of Finitude, a fable. Hammer time, round 2. The essence of abs.
Tristan! Let me out of this damned cage, you stupid little good elf. Otherwise, I'll have a hard time wringing your scrawny neck.
The wafting evil had to get rid of that dwarven contraption on the overworld, as it posed a threat to the underground, and with it, the dungeon heart. It was therefore necessary to build a mighty dungeon, or rather, to have one built, because, as a wafting essence, the disembodied evil could not do much itself. Gold-hungry evil had built a treasury. The meager amount that could be stored in the throne room was simply not even close to enough for a proper gold bath. The gluttony-loving evil had built a gobbler farm. Here, delicious gobblers were raised to serve as food for the horde. Payday. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. The sheltering evil had built a hideout for the horde's creatures. These could henceforth build themselves a place to rest there. The army-raising evil had recruited its first creature, a bit underwhelming considering that it was sitting on the throne of the gods a short time ago. But fresh starts are never easy. The evilest evil could use the hand of terror, not only to intervene, but also to lend its little snots the impetus they needed by giving them a spirited slap. The attitude-adjusting evil had struck one of its little snots. The detestable evil had earned some delicious evilness. Excellent things could be done with it, such as exploring new stuff. However, first, a place had to be found where the evilness could be stored. The absolute evil quickly built a vault of evilness. Ding dong, it's payday.
Oi! How long is this stone thing going to take, lads? Snookums and I weren't planning on dying of old age here.
I sure hope not, because I have a whole different set of plans for just how you lot are gonna die here.
The glamorous evil had built a vault of evilness. This allowed it to henceforth store evilness and use it.
Oi! No need to sit around being lazy when we could be picking up a little gold while we're here, eh? On you go, lads. Grab the nearest gold vein.
Sooner or later, the greedy dwarves would dig their way into the dungeon. The perfidious evil used a workshop to prepare traps to stop the gold-stealing dwarves in their tracks. Technological progress has almost always been a fine thing. Further research could not only make new units or rooms available, but also increase the maximum number of little snots or creatures. The hard work allowing evil had built a tinkerer's cave. Here, little snots could use the work units to make toolboxes, which were needed for the more extravagant dungeon accoutrements. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. Payday! You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. The cunning evil had placed the first traps. This would make it much harder for the greedy dwarves to steal the gold from the treasury or even destroy the dungeon heart itself. The workforce hoarding evil had increased its maximum little snot limit and now had access to even more of the industrious little creatures. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. Oh. 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 Oh.
Oi! Something dug into my little gold mine. Yeah! And it had to be stinking orcs, whose skulls are at best used as toilet paper holders in the lavatory. Okay, boys! Tear this joint to the ground!
Dwarves had opened a passage into the dungeon. The little snots immediately executed Order 67, as they had been instructed to do by Talia in such a case, which meant that they ran through the dungeon with their arms flapping wildly. At the same time, they opened the secret trap cache, so that the tricky evil could give the dwarves a very warm welcome.
Oi! Did you little honey buns forget your little baby bottles? Or how did you manage to lose to a bunch of lousy orcs? But fine. We still have some reinforcements here. Reinforcements? Attack!
Obviously, the danger from the dwarves had not yet been neutralized. Luckily, the little snots had made a few traps in their spare time, and they were only too happy to make available to the all-consuming evil. The little snot's trap glittered and gleamed. Soon, gold-hungry dwarves would be biting their teeth out on it as they unknowingly fast-tracked for a quick demise. A Thrasher trap not only took out one hero, it also provided any and all surrounding heroes with some nutritious cauliflower at the same time. Cauliflower ears, that is. One of your creatures has died. I'm sure you're shedding a tear right now as you hire the next 3. Later, you may also be able to resurrect these creatures.
What's one dead creature if it gets one closer to the goal of freeing me? Come on! Free me already, you rotten maggots!
Ding dong, it's payday. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. The Thrasher was a very powerful trap, just waiting to snap several heroes to Nirvana at the same time. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. It's payday. You have lost a creature forever. Another saw trap was mounted halfway up to be even more effective against dwarves. The saw trap was perfectly suited for cutting tree trunks, but since they wouldn't become a resource until Dungeons 5, it would have to settle for dwarves for now. Your army has just decreased in size due to deaths. Ding dong, it's payday. A Thrasher trap not only took out one hero, it also provided any and all surrounding heroes with some nutritious cauliflower at the same time. Cauliflower ears, that is. The Thrasher was a very powerful trap, just waiting to slap several heroes to Nirvana at the same time. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. The dwarves were defeated for the time being. Satisfied, the essence of absolute evil rubbed something together that could perhaps pass for two hands together. The all-destroying evil had conquered the exit. This left the way to the surface open for its troops. Absolute evil's creatures blinked a little as they stepped into the glaring light of the sun. Finally, they could lay waste not only to the boring corridors of the dungeon, but also to the lush green meadows of the overworld. The horrific evil had destroyed a camp in the overworld. The defeated heroes ran away crying and tried to entrench themselves behind even higher walls. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. The vile evil had destroyed another of the heroes' camps. Screaming at the top of their voices, the survivors took to their heels. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
Oi! I have to protect the blueprint, Snookums. Otherwise, the orcs will eventually end up building some decent machinery here. Well then, keep your chin up, Toodles.
Brynhild, what are you doing? I thought your dwarves could easily handle a few orcs.
Problems, brother mine? Oh, what a shame. I had actually already planned on making myself a tea set out of dwarf skulls.
Talia, your evilness truly knows no bounds. These dwarfs are part of the Alliance of Good. You were also once part of that alliance.
The path to the dwarves' oversized hammer lay open. The trembling heroes prepared themselves for the final battle. You have lost a creature forever. The dwarven equipment spectacularly went up in flames, which was rather odd, as the creatures had only been hitting the thing with their weapons. But fine, perhaps horde weapons were made of flint. Yet the distraction provided by the dwarven intervention had shifted the destruction-loving evil's focus long enough. The Hellwoods. Talia was taken ever deeper. In the underground beneath the Hellwoods, Talia's stepbrother Tristan was tampering with the remains of a dungeon long thought forgotten. But before the mana-craving evil could resort to magic, it would first have to take care of the demons. It made perfect sense to have a vortex built to house demonic creatures. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Some parts of the underground were saturated with mana. Once dug up, this could be used to cast spells. The mana-addicted evil wanted to try this out as soon as possible. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. A new area has been unearthed. The never went to hogwash evil's little snot had built an arcanium. Should one of these droll...
Stand fast, men! There may come a day when courage fails us, but it is not this day. On this day we fight! By all that you hold dear on this good earth, I call you to stand firm! Brothers of the kingdom! Let us lay waste to the dungeon! Attack!
You stole that speech. I've heard something very similar to that before.
That's beside the point. Those words inspired my men. The pen is mightier than the sword.
But weaker than a horde battle axe. It's just too bad that I can't be there to watch the show because I'm stuck in your stupid cage.
Doors in the dungeon not only reduced drafts, but could also stop heroes and other enemies in their tracks for a short time. They also increased the efficiency of rooms. It therefore made sense to have a door to close off a production room. One of your creatures has bit the dust. A first door now adorned the dungeon. The grandiose evil not only used it to increase the efficiency of rooms or to stop enemies for a short time, but it could also lock doors to seal off areas for its subordinates. The researching evil had unlocked some spells that were now accessible through the spell menu. With a few casual gestures, the disembodied evil attentively cast one of the spells. The gallant evil had now gained access to a number of spells. Create resources, for example, allowed toolboxes or gobblers to quickly be created as if out of thin air. In keeping with his childlike disposition, the amused evil immediately tried this out. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. Payday! The room-building evil had had a vortex built. There, hired demons found shelter and a place to wait until they could be resurrected at the cost of evilness after an unforeseen demise. The childish evil's eyes glowed with joy as it successfully used the Create Resources spell. This would allow stocks to be filled even without decent production. A little snot set about generating mana in the Arcanium to make it available to the spell-wielding evil. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. Enemies are in the dungeon. Payday.
Hey, Tristan, favourite, because only stepbrother. See my troops marching over there? I think they're gonna make short work of you.
Don't get your hopes up too soon, stepsister. My barrier and my men will stop them. We got what we wanted here, and we'll soon be on the road again.
Huh. Creatures, get me the hell out of here already! Come on, get a move on! Save me, free me, sign petitions demanding my release!
The spoiled evil had discovered a few stray demons who were all too willing to join his dark army. Of all things, these were stuck in a rather awkward position. The perplexed evil pondered how to go about it. Payday! The ingenious evil had managed to return the scattered demons safely back to the dungeon by means of a spell. An arcane tear had appeared very close to the absurd evil's armies. These magical anomalies were not uncommon in the area and promised great power to those who knew how to use them. The creatures knew but one way to deal with these. The corrupting evil had captured an arcane tear. New power flowed through it, giving it the ability to now cast the meteor rain spell. As luck would have it, there was a group of heroes nearby who made worthy targets. The arcane tear's power could now be used by the spellcasting evil. And again, the power of the arcane tears stood available. It's payday.
Talia, I still can't believe you really did all that.
The merciless evil's army had reached the magical barrier. A spell would sweep it away. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. payday. Creatures are collecting their pay. Heroes had entered the dungeon, while the arsonist evil was marching its army around the overworld. Thanks to the demonic portal spell, creatures could instantly be sent back to the dungeon from the overworld. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. The arcane chair's power permeated the land. Spells were now even more powerful. The power of the arcane tears was once again available. Ding dong, it's payday. While the Cruciatus intoning evil was making its way through the protective barrier, Talia and Tristan continued upon their way.
Tristan, beloved brother, would you be so kind as to open this cage door for me? There is no need for us to argue.
Step brother, and I simply cannot forgive you for slaying our foster father. Not to mention half of the good people of the country.
Only half? Ha! I mean, all that just kind of happened. I don't know how exactly it could all go so wrong either.
You put Tanos's head on a spear!
He bloody well deserved it! Time and again, I had to suffer insults from him and his henchmen simply because of my origins, as if all dark elves were evil.
You killed hundreds of heroes, slew Father's companions, and put Father's head on a spear!
They made me do it. It's society's fault.
The arcane tear's power could now be used again. The power of the arcane tears had been activated. Spells were immediately available again and were now even more powerful. The magic using evil had conquered an arcane tear. Armed with that captured power, it could now use the Mana Shield spell. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
Tristan, I finally understand. I behaved poorly. If you let me out now, I vow to do better.
Really?
Of course not, you imbecile. I'd give you a wedgie worse than I ever gave you in our entire childhood. One you'd still be telling your grandchildren about, provided you can still have children and grandchildren at all afterwards.
Talia, I wish you would change your ways. Remember back when we were children and would play together by the creek?
And you threw me in?
You dropped a bee's nest on my head first!
Oh, that's right. I remember the way your head swelled up like a melon.
Area of the dungeon has been discovered. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. Enemies have entered the dungeon. payday. Creatures are collecting their pay. Oh. 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 Spell-wielding evil had seized an arcane tear. The newfound magic allowed it to now use a spell to summon the Prince of Hell. A gold vein is almost exhausted. Payday! The arcane tear's power permeated the land. Spells were now even more powerful. And again, the power of the arcane tears stood available.
There's my army. Time for you to die, stepbrother. Go, my creatures! Grab them, run them down, rub hot chili sauce in their eyes, and get me out of this damn cage!
My brothers! In your eyes I see...
You're not going to repeat that same old crap again, are you? Are you?
Ah! Men! Stop them! Talia, we have to move on.
The power of the arcane tears had been activated. Spells were immediately available again and were now even more powerful. The ice in its drink-loving Evil's armies had defeated Tristan's pathetic defenders. Evil's creatures were filled with jubilation. The plains of Strotham.
These sequences with me in a cage.
A temple with a sacrificial pit would need to be built before the merciless Evil's undead creatures could summon more minions. Quickly, the construction-obsessed Evil set about doing just that. It's payday.
It seems your creatures don't even dare to leave the underground, Talia. But they are not safe there either. Forward, men! Destroy the dungeon in the underground!
The sacrificial evil had a temple built complete with a sacrificial pit. The greedy-looking black maw, with its dark void, seemed to be eagerly awaiting offerings. Presumably, the evil spirits would reward each sacrifice with some soothing blight. The experimental evil set about testing this theorem. Strengthened by the captured blight, one of the undead creatures was able to summon a minion to its side. The extravagant evil was satisfied to note that its undead were able to use blight and minions to maximize the number of creatures that could be used carelessly. Enemies have entered the dungeon. With a Wilhelm scream, a little snot disappeared into the depths of the sacrificial pit. It seemed as if the sacrificial pit would belch satedly were it not simply an inanimate object. The sacrificial evil had sacrificed enough things for the time being. It was time to go on the offensive. A wailing hero disappeared into the sacrificial pit. Seductive blight spread a comforting undead chill through the temple. The colourful clothes-wearing evil had discovered a dungeon gate in the underground. Apparently, this was one of the 3 lost burial chambers. All that was needed to benefit from it was to open the burial chamber, presumably with a few firm blows. payday. The gruesome evil welcomed a Bone Lord into its ranks. Not only could this mighty swordsman both dish it out and take it, but could also summon skeletal mages as minions. This was apparently the final resting place of the legendary mercenary army, the Scallywag Ragtags. The pragmatic evil was bound to have an idea as to what it could do with the undead found there. The zombie-like evil had unleashed powerful undead forces. The use of these powers meant each of its undead creatures could both move faster and summon an additional minion to its side. Each additional burial chamber would provide one additional minion. Ding dong! It's payday! Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available.
There, I see my subjects, brave creatures, already appearing on the horizon. Once they get their hands on you, that summer camp will seem like a lovely vacation compared to that.
Ha! My men will stop that vermin. My brothers! In your eyes, I see the same fear that would lead me...
What? That same old crap again? Good grief. Can't you just steal something else? Maybe you should follow Ned Stark's example a little more. That would be a blessing for everyone involved.
Your enemies are in the dungeon. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. In fact, the sacrificial pit was a very versatile contemporary. Pretty much everything could be thrown in there. Defend the dungeon heart. Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available.
Your throne room is under attack.
Payday. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves. payday. Creatures are collecting their pay. Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Payday! Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available. One of the undead creatures that had fallen in battle had gone to rest in the graveyard, only to rise again after some time had passed. The merciless evil was then able to send it back into battle. The poking around evil had discovered another burial chamber. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. This tomb was dedicated to the archers of the Scallywag Ragtags. Legend has it that they could miss a barn door even at 10 meters. Their corpses would certainly be put to good use by the self-sacrificing evil. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves. The achievement Accumulating Evil had now discovered the third burial chamber as well. The remains found here were those of the alchemists of the scallywag ragtags, who considered arsenic to be a refreshing mouth gel. These corpses would prove perfect vessels for mindless zombies. Your enemies are in the dungeon. payday.
My armies are getting closer, little brother. Want to go ahead and pick out a nice tombstone? Not that you'll need it when I put your head on a spear.
We do not need to further elaborate on your misdeeds, sister. My armies are not yet defeated, and the hero's courage is unbroken.
The courage may be unbroken, but the spine...
Ding dong, it's payday.
Ha! The vile stench of the undead is still coming ever closer. Forward, faithful! Destroy that vermin!
Problems, brother mine? Is that the sweat of fear I can see on your brow? This reminds me of when you were going to ask Chelsea Chubby Cheeks to prom.
That's not the point here.
And she dumped you because she wanted to take her dog for a walk instead. At last! Ha ha! Come on! Let's beat them! Fry them up! Smear them on our toast!
The sovereign evil had freed Talia from the clutches of her stepbrother. Pity, really. I found it quite pleasant not to have someone constantly interrupting me.
I will ignore your insolence for now.
Talia had been rescued from the clutches of her stepbrother Tristan by the absolute evil. This seemed a bit surprising as, after all, Talia had accidentally caused its demise only one cutscene earlier. But the disembodied essence of the irritated evil was restless due to its lack of physical form. It needed help finding a new body. In such cases, less competent personnel were also called upon. Talia was extremely grateful to have been freed from the cage after 3 long missions. Finding a new body for the absolute evil seemed a small price to pay. High up on the 4th highest peak in the world, Mount Snotmore, resided the venerable Council of Little Snots. These wise beings were the ones who would know what would constitute a new, adequate vessel for the absolute evil. All Talia had to do was reach the peak. A trifle, really, but unfortunately, her stupid stepbrother and his oversized army stood between her and her goal. Otherwise, however, it would have been so easy that even a group of gluttonous hobbits could have managed it. Would Talia succeed in reaching the peak? Would the absolute evil seize control of the world once again? How would Tristan and Talia's rivalry play out? Learn all this in the full version of Dungeons 4. Or I could just tell you all the juicy details now. So, let's get started. So, first off,